so hard to believe, but these shoots keep getting more and more fun. Just as Piper gets older, she keeps getting more and more fun. You just don't think it can get any better, and then it does. I thought for this 6-month shoot, it'd be a good idea to get outside, to get a little bit out of our comfort zones, get out of our pajamas, which we all need to do, and just go explore and see what shots we can get. Another thing to think about when you're going out on this adventure is you want to have something to carry all of your stuff. I used my stroller and I put all my props in there, my blankets, snacks, toys, milk, whatever it is that you need to bring to make this happen. And I'm sure, as you've noticed, having a little one, they come with a lot of stuff, so just be prepared to have a little more stuff than normal. If you can, bring an extra set of hands with you. Of course, bring dad if you can, but if not, bring a friend or grandma or somebody that can help you. I already know you have the perfect subject. So let's put that together with finding an ideal location with that wonderful soft shade that creates amazing images. When all of these components come together, it's gonna create one fabulous shoot. There's definitely some things you want to think about when you're getting ready to take your little one out with your camera, and I just want to go over a few of those things so that you're prepared. The number one thing that I would suggest is have 2 locations in mind. For instance, when we went out to do Piper's 6-month shoot, we had her all packed in the car, we had our cameras ready, and we were on our way and we drove by the park that I wanted to go to, and lo and behold, there was a wedding taking place. Definitely not something I planned for, and there actually happened to be some sort of parade going through that same part of town, so it was the absolute worst location I could have picked, but I had no idea. But in the back of my mind, I did have a second idea of another place that we could go. When I say 2 locations, I really mean that you need to go to those locations before you go to the shoot and check them out. You want to look around, see if there's variety in shots, see if there's good light, see what time of day is best to go there. If you're anything like me, you're probably going to plan the shoot around your little one's nap time. I did this shoot right after Piper's afternoon nap. It was around 3 o'clock. And the light was already starting to get soft, which is what I wanted. And she was really well rested and she was ready to have some fun. So I really want to teach you how to find amazing shade to shoot in. Shade is all around us. It's in any city, in any backyard, but there happens to be good and bad shade. So when I picked this field to shoot Piper in, I picked it for a lot of different reasons, but one of the main reasons that I picked it was it was in what I like to call open shade. And when I say open shade, what that means is Piper was sitting in the shade, but everything around her that she was looking out towards was open. It was the bright blue sky and an open field in front of her, and it allowed light to be reflected back into her face. And that's the really vibrant, beautiful light that you can find in the shade. And it's not the actual shade itself, it's what's being reflected back in from what they're looking out at. So, when you're picking shade, you just want to make sure that it's not completely covered. You don't want a lot of trees coming over, or you don't want just a lot of tall buildings where no light can be reflected back in. Also, when I'm picking shade, I want to make sure that it's even, so that the shade that she's in is complete shade. I don't want splotches of light on her skin or anywhere on her body. However, I do love splotches of light or light coming in behind a subject. I think it creates a lot of interest and it brings another dimension to the photograph. So when I took this shot, it was just kind of something in the background, and I thought it actually created a little bit of interest, so I liked it. But if I had something bright on her head or somewhere on her face, I would have moved her. And one way that you can, test to see if the shade is good is look into your subject's eyes. Look into your child's eyes. If you can see the reflection of the sky or of maybe some natural reflector like a white building or something like that, if you can see that reflected back into the eyes and it's kind of lighting them up, then you know that that's good light, and that light is also lighting up their face just beautifully. So for these field shots, what I did was I used Piper's Bebe Pod, or I think they call them bumpo chairs. And they're just those round little chairs that help prop them up when they can't sit up yet. And what I did is I put a white blanket over it because it's this really obnoxious lime green color and I didn't want that in the picture. But I wanted to be able to have some shots of her alone where she's sitting up, so I thought it'd be the perfect way to prop her up. My settings for the field shots, I was shooting at f2.8 at about 1/1600th of a second. And I took some shots right around there, and then I just couldn't help myself. I had to open up because I just love that buttery image that you can create shooting, you know, 1.2 or 1.8. Hi, sweetheart. Sweetheart. Gotta accessorize. Accessorize. That's it, girl. So often people are in a great spot. All they need to do is just move maybe 2 feet to the right or 2 feet to the left. So don't be afraid to just keep moving around until you find that perfect, smooth, no, you know, bright light coming on the face light. As you can see, our pet octopus made quite a few appearances, and Piper just loves this octopus. It makes her laugh, and I think it was actually making me laugh more than her to see Mark flop around with this thing in front of, you know, for all the world to see. But it really is a good idea to bring some toy or something silly that makes them laugh that can keep their attention. Piper!
You need a bigger blanket.
I know. Oh, you are just into everything. It's okay, let her grab some grass.
Piper.
Oh, no, let's not eat it. So we learned in this shoot that Piper is slightly fascinated with dead grass, and the blanket just wasn't quite big enough. So she kept leaning over, playing with the grass. She wanted to eat it. We couldn't get her attention. So I think I'll bring a little bit bigger blanket next time. And I realized that's why Mark's here. So I put Mark in there, and we got some great shots of her when she finally got her mind off of the grass. Like that. I'm gonna be laying down, shooting up.
Okay.
I'm gonna try that. When you're photographing your baby, you cannot be afraid to get dirty. Sometimes you have to get down in the dirt, and trust me, you'll get some shots that are definitely worth it.
Okay.
Try holding up towards you. You might have to take her hat off, we'll see.
I was gonna say.
Sweetheart! Hi! Swim, swim, swim! When I was laying on the ground and Piper was kind of flying over me, I was just going through a little mental checklist in my head, which I do a lot of times for, you know, different shots. And I was just thinking, okay, what do I need to do to make sure she's in focus and that I stop the motion of Mark swinging her? I knew that I had to have a very quick shutter speed. I didn't want any blurriness in the image, so I ended up shooting at 1/1250th of a second. This shot is where I decided to make my angle a little bit wider. I decided I wanted more of Mark in the picture, and I wanted to bring in a little bit of the environment around them. So you can see the tall trees, and you can actually see where the sun was coming through. I think it added a lot to the picture. Plus, I realized it's also nice to do a few shots that make your husband's arms look really huge.
Ooh. Ooh. Oh,
One thing though, when I look back, that I wish I had done is I was shooting at 1.8. And a lot of times when you're shooting motion, you have no room for air at 1.8. So if I'm shooting something moving, normally I hang out around 2.8 or even 3.2. She's such a big girl. Oh, don't eat your finger. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Piper Jane, Piper Jane. I wanted to make sure when I was picking the location that there was a few different spots within that same location that I could use. I love getting a variety of shots, and you almost wouldn't know that I'm in the same location. So for these log shots, we just took a few steps over to the right and found this perfect log for Mark and Piper to sit on. And what I loved the most about it, it was a very smooth transition. The light didn't change, I didn't have to mess with my exposure much, and it was really just the perfect backdrop for them.
Well. Ba, 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 ba.
Sweetheart. Ba, 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 ba. Sweetheart. Hi.
Hi. Is
Ba,
that
ba, ba, ba.
Mom? Is that Mom?
Yeah, you kiss her top of her head. Cute. Piper. See if she'll look at you.
Piper.
Oh my gosh. I took these shots in some shade right in my backyard, and I love the lemon crate because it was just another creative way that I could prop up Piper.
Ba ba ba.
So for these lemon shots, you guessed it, I was shooting at 1.8, but I did that specifically because there was a little bit of a busy background behind her, and I really wanted the crate to kind of pop out, and of course her, so I thought 1.8 would be a good way to do that.
You gonna hold it? There you go. Ba.
And of course I couldn't help myself. I had to get some naked shots of her, and I had to use some window light because it's one of my favorites. So we went down to my studio, and I have some really big windows in there, and we laid her out on just this little black table that I have and stripped her down, and she has never been so happy. Hi, sweetheart. Hello.
Piper. Yeah. Princess.
Sweetheart.
What are you doing?
What do you think? You get to be naked.
Do you want a flower?
When I was shooting in the studio, I did notice that there was a lot going on in the background. There was, you know, I had a bike back there and pictures and stands and all of these things. So shooting wide open was really a good idea for that situation. But I also didn't mind that some of the background kind of came into the picture because it really kind of brought in a little bit of the environment of where we were. And I liked that. I wanted to remember we were in my studio, and that was, you know, it's kind of a special place to me. So I didn't mind that that kind of showed through in the background a little bit.
See if I can get a sweetie here for you.
There should be a Sophie. Of course, you know, naked baby, cold surface, things happen. Yes, it did happen. What are you doing? Oh, she just peed.
Oh, she's peeing.
Oh, get out of the chair. I was like, but it was fine. We did a little cleanup and just kept on with the shoot, and we got some of my favorite shots. Look at that cute little bum. Look at the cute bum.
Piper. Good.
If you ever have a baby shoot going south, take their clothes off. It works almost every single time. They love the freedom of being naked. They just feel so alive and so free, and it's just a great way to distract them. So I just kind of want to sum up everything that we learned today. The number one thing when you're going out to photograph your little one outside is be prepared. And the way that you can be prepared is have 2 locations in mind. You never know if there's going to be a parade or a wedding or whatever it may be. And those 2 locations, try to scout them out before you take your little one out there with all of the stuff and all of the toys and everything. Have a spot picked out and go there at the time of day that you want to photograph. Be sure to bring something to haul around all of the stuff that you're going to need. You're going to need props and blankets and toys and food and milk, and you know, the list goes on and on with kids. Bring an extra set of hands. If your significant other can't make it, bring a friend or grandma or somebody that can help make you sane. And the biggest thing, I think, is be prepared to be surprised. These shoots pretty much never go as planned, so you have to be willing to roll with it. That's where you really get some great shots. I also want to summarize what we learned about finding great shade. The number one thing, you want to find shade that's open. You want your subject to be facing the bright blue sky. You don't want trees covering and buildings and other obstructions. You want light to be reflected back into the eyes and face. You don't want dappled light. You don't want light coming through onto the skin or any part of the body. If it's coming into the background and kind of just something that's creating interest in the background, that's fine, but you really don't want shade and half bright sun on somebody's face. And if you can help it, find some shade that has a few different locations within it. like I was shooting in the field and then I went to the log. So it's different looks, same light. It's really easy and it makes your life a whole lot better.